Hello Astro friends, bonjour, buenos dias, guten Tag, and buongiorno. It's Melanie here for the Astro week of tomorrow, starting tomorrow, June the 4th until June the 10th. I'm greeting you in many languages inspired by Jupiter now in Gemini, and also a super Gemini week coming up. The record of Gemini planets, at least this year, if not in several years, because, as I said, Jupiter is in Gemini since the 25th of May, and now we're building up or gearing down to the new moon in Gemini, which is a supermoon very close to Earth. Of course, we can't see her, but we feel her effect. And also, we have lots of planets now already in Gemini. Mercury since this morning, Venus, of course, already since mid-May. And we have, of course, the Sun, it's Gemini season, and Jupiter. Then also the Moon will enter Gemini. That's going to happen on the 5th. On the 5th, Wednesday at 1:36 a.m. and Wednesday, Thursday, these 2 days specifically with the moon, also in Gemini, wrapping around the new moon, will be top Gemini peak season of the year. And we're feeling it. So there's lots of ideas swirling around, just like with the breeze, the spring breeze. Blowing out cooler weather, bringing in warmer pre-summery temperatures here soon, fingers crossed. And likewise, also much more buzz in the air and people out and connecting with one another is really important at this time. Complements Gemini, but also Pisces, because the new moon will also go into square with Saturn stationary in Pisces. Saturn will go retrograde on the 29th, hence it's moving relatively slowly at this point, coming to its yearly U-turn from direct to retro. And let me show you the chart, and then we can talk a bit more about how this pans out. So here, check that out. That's the Gemini new moon. In the early morning, it will be also just after sunrise, because the horizontal line here, the eastern horizon, the ascendant, will be also in Gemini from the west coast perspective of Victoria, BC, where I'm located. And so, as I said, 5:38 a.m. Yep, and at Pacific Daylight Savings Time in June. So technically, it would be 4:38 a.m. only. We're coming close to the summer solstice. And yeah, look at all this Gemini energy here. Sun, Moon, Venus aligned. Then also Mercury having just passed Jupiter by Thursday when the new moon is. Only Taurus is now left in, only Uranus is now left in Taurus. Today the moon is in Taurus. But otherwise, the shift from Taurus, from lots of Taurus energy in April, May, has really happened now towards Gemini. And so air sign again, first air sign after only Pluto having been in Aquarius since end of January. So that is great to get the energy moving, to kick us into gears when it comes to our curiosity, to our communication with one another, to connecting and having fresh ideas and exchanging thoughts, learning more, literally being out and about on our bikes and our electric vehicles and all the like, and running, getting fresh air, super important, great for our brains, which is also ruled by Mercury, the ruler of Gemini. And yeah, so Gemini is actually an alchemist. Did you know? I had 2 sessions yesterday with 2 different Gemini ladies, and I believe I was sharing it with both of them, especially one who has a lot of Gemini and Scorpio. right? There's two qualities of alchemy. One is the Gemini one is the Scorpio one. The Scorpio one goes really deep, goes very emotionally through processes. And these are, of course, taking us into dark zones and moving things through, especially what's hidden, what's in the shadow, and helping us transform that, find the gold, right, in that. And that is a quality of alchemy. Then there's another quality of alchemy that is, this one would be, Scorpio would be Pluto ruled. Then the Gemini alchemy is Mercury ruled. So Mercury being a messenger, but also a hermetic alchemist, right? So Mercury brings opposites together into a new expression, right? So it can be literally the yin and yang, can be literally a thesis and antithesis into synthesis. It's often about associated with discourse, debate, and so on, right? There is these different views, these different thoughts that want to come together and create something more synergistic with each other rather than being just polarized. And of course, it has to do primarily also with the masculine feminine. There is the tarot card Lovers, which also came up yesterday, that shows also the union of opposites in a Gemini way, right? They embrace each other. Gemini is also in a way a hermaphrodite, right? So embodying masculine and feminine qualities. We have that often in Gemini emphasized people. And that can be even like an androgynous look when you have Gemini rising and so on. So it definitely there's an interest in bringing together the yin and yang. And of course, as you know, June, what's going on in June, right? In terms of the whole Pride, etc. Month building up. Now, we're having this Gemini new moon, which you can read up more about on my blog, that I'm just in the process of writing. And the Gemini new moon, I want to just feature a few pieces here visually in the video. Then you can always go deeper in the blog. But the main feature is, yes, so much Gemini, but also in square with Saturn in Pisces. So both of these signs are mutable signs. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of energy is it's going in a kind of a centrifugal way. It's expressing outward and branching out from a Gemini perspective. It's literally also the season when lots of new growth expands, like in nature. Branches, leaves, stems, all of this is growing. It's growing upward towards the sun, of course, which is the highest in the sky in the northern hemisphere at this point. And we're having a movement towards the growing light, right? And you're having then the Piscean movement is more ethereal, it's more an energetic dance in a way, right? Where all is one and always expressing itself back to union, back to oneness, right? And that can be also confusing, but it's also the notion, the yearning to connect and be in oneness, right? So it can be a contrast or a conflict between the more cerebral side of Gemini and more the energetic and ethereal side of Pisces. Saturn in Pisces at this point since last March 2023 until altogether the Valentine's 2026. What Saturn teaching us, right? That has a lot to do with the teaching that all is an expression of one. All is connected, and we see that now in so many ways. We can see it like literally in spiritual dimensions always, but now we see it also in the economy, in our world, coherence of the energy field, like especially when it comes to all things climate, right? And it is expressed that way, right? The question is, do we have to go all, do we have to really find unified, a one fits all, you could say, from a Saturn kind of cynical perspective? Do we need to find a solution that is, you know, it like all countries, all people sign up for this, right? So, and we have lots of discussion, lots of debate around this, especially with the pandemic treaty, which is very much a Gemini Pisces thing, right? So do we need more information, we need more discussion, we need more discourse, and people need to be more informed about what's going on in that regard. You might want to look it up. Pandemic treaty, at this point it's delayed. It has not been finalized as planned end of May. But of course, there is a big movement towards it, right? Do we need a collective, unified response to health emergencies that may affect the whole world? But maybe they won't, right? And what's a health emergency? So, anyway, that's just one example, right? And then we have the whole climate discussion, which is another Pisces and Gemini theme, right? Pisces always says it all is connected, and Gemini says, okay, give me more data, give me more information. I want to learn more about it. What about this? So it is also doubtful, and it often brings up the controversy, actually, right? So with Jupiter now in Gemini, a lot of new information and new discussions and rationality, also Gemini, is coming in this year, and that can be a good thing. So we need to be better informed, and we need to, rather than going with what also can happen with Jupiter and Gemini is like a whole philosophy that is based on rationality, right? It's all about science, it's all about reason, and everything can be doubted. So it's opposite Jupiter in Sagittarius, which it rules, where there's trust, knowing, understanding, the heart, right? So Gemini again rules the brain, right? And the mind. Mind, more social media themes, more overwhelm, inundation, Pisces, right? Which needs to be, we need to be in charge of that ourselves and self-regulated, rather than having all these state regulations of speech, right? Which can happen also with Pisces Saturn square all the Gemini energy, right? How can we manage? How can we go into voluntary simplicity when it comes to our exposure to the media? Another piece with Pisces and Gemini, as I said. Then, yes, the new moon itself, beautiful. I keep looking at it, right? So the new moon, beautifully aligned with Venus. That itself is actually a beautiful magnet for new connections. If you have been missing those, you've been missing talking to your spirit sisters and brothers, that's very Gemini, this is the time to reconnect, reattract, and go into with lightness, right? With just maybe some casual conversation, getting in touch, a light touch, that's Gemini, right? It's like a fairy energy. Getting in touch with people again would be really beautiful this time, especially if you're still only coming out of your hibernation. Anyway, So what else is going on this week? As I said, Mercury entered Gemini today, and the first transit from Mercury, I can show you that here, is Mercury freshly in Gemini. Um, First, it went in. It will go this evening into trine, into air trine, 4 signs apart, with Pluto retro in early Aquarius, and then it will meet Jupiter tomorrow. So Mercury, Jupiter, and Jupiter went into the same trine with Pluto yesterday. So that's a strong energy field this week. Mercury, Jupiter in trine with Pluto. This is a beautiful opportunity. All trines are opportunities. Gifts, nothing has to be done about it, but it's an invitation. More is possible, especially if Jupiter is involved in a trine, because a trine has a kind of Jupiter, it does have a Jupiter characteristic to it. It offers opportunities in the air element. And in this case, it would be again with Aquarius, friendship, community, collaboration. All of that is now enhanced, and there's gifts and opportunities for that if you want to together actually be an expression of the greater evolution, which is again Pluto, right? The bigger energy field that is now coming out of this Capricorn old empire, as I kept referring to. I still do. The old empire is expiring, we know it, although even though it holds on to its authority and power with teeth and claws, but at the same time humanity is coming together in a new way, and in a way it hasn't in a long time, if ever. And so that starts in smaller dynamics, like with individuals, with friends, with people from different walks of life. That's the whole point, right? Rather than the tribal consciousness, and also the hierarchical consciousness with Capricorn. So meet your spirit peers, your soul friends, and get in touch with people. So much more is possible that way, and it's a very synergistic effect. Then what else do we have this week? Yes, with the Gemini, central Gemini phase now since 1st of June. We're between 10 and 20 degrees, and full moon will be at 16 or so, right? 16, 17, 16 degrees, 17 minutes, right in the middle of Gemini. And now we're in the center. That's June 1st to 10th. And of course, all the planets that move through that as well. More to come from Mercury, eventually Jupiter. But that central Gemini has the undertone of the fixed air sign, which is Aquarius. So that's even more of that Gemini Aquarius dynamic. So even more of communication, information, and connection, learning from each other, advocating something with the Jupiter side that help, where discourse and discussion and information really help, and new ideas. And yes, so it's also about freedom, right? With Aquarius, it's always about freedom. So often that is actually the motivation. Freedom and quality of innovation, right? Quality of, we're going beyond that density also of Capricorn and of even Taurus as well, where Jupiter has come out of. That dense, the dense consciousness or energy field, right? That is kind of very stuck and feels, in fact, even though it's kind of secure, right? But now it feels like very stifling actually, and very stagnant. And with Gemini and Aquarius, more lightness comes in, more light comes in, and more freedom through that. Then yes, so what's going on with the moon? Let's go to the moon this week, and I'm waking up my computer with my cheat sheet here, so you might hear a sound or not. Today the moon is still in Taurus, waning moon in Taurus, And okay, here we go. And I did some aligned activity this morning. I was replanting plants on my balcony. Yeah, here we go. Plants on the balcony, and that felt really good. And also some weeding, some um, plant care, earthy activities that help clear, right? Clear the old, because it's a waning moon and we're moving towards the dark before new moon. And it's the moon sliver is really thin right now. You could see it in the morning. Then yes, waning moon in Taurus, and the moon will enter. It will be still in Taurus tomorrow, the 4th, and will then go into Gemini on the 5th, as I said, at 1:36 a.m. That will be the dark moon just before the new moon. Then on the 6th, we have the new moon and central Gemini. So it's the last new moon of spring also. So it is a renewal. So it is actually also a transition, because the mutable Gemini energy is a transition from spring to summer. So also, what is it that would bring more lightness into your life, more joy, more cross pollination, seeing things from different angles. Yesterday, a card came up very apropos, showing a hummingbird, right? And the theme was sidestepping, so like a hummingbird flying back and forth and side to side and up and down and seeing things from different angles. That's very Gemini, so also ruled by Mercury. And for that matter, it is said that Gemini can make a case for anything, right? Because you can see all the different aspects of things. Then yeah, so then the new moon will move into Cancer on Friday morning, where the moon is at home, and Friday, Saturday, until Sunday noon, the moon will be in Cancer and new. So that's a beautiful, sweet energy to, so to say, feather your nest and make your home a more beautiful place. And yeah, also follow your instincts, right? So from the mental realm of Gemini to Cancer, the emotional is kind of an instinctual and an emotional and a sensitivity to that. And also, um, typically, the nesting point from Gemini to Taurus, the nesting energy, is also an energy where Mercury and the Moon come together. Mercury rules Gemini, Moon Cancer. So the two together have also a good common sense, right? Because like it mentally, rationally, it makes sense, and also it feels right, right, as something. So tuning into that and nurturing yourself, your environment, be going into that sweetness of Cancer. Then the moon will go into Leo, and that will be more an expressive energy. The Cancer side is more impressive, right? Impressionist. And an expressionist is Leo. Moon in Leo from Sunday afternoon on, all day Monday, of course, and all day Tuesday until the evening. Tuesday the 11th, we're talking. Then, yeah, so Moon in Leo and Sun in Gemini, waxing Moon in Leo. That is a beautiful time to really be playful and express yourself and show yourself, show your colors. And it's like really that spring summery lightness is kicking in that way. Hopefully also with the temperatures as promised here on the West Coast, finally going over 20 degrees. And so now what else is going on this week besides the lunar motion? We have also, yeah, Mercury meeting Jupiter tomorrow, as I said, and that is really, yeah, I could really say Mercury and Jupiter in Gemini. Think big. What is possible? What more can you offer? What more can you tap into? and especially from that Gemini, with your curiosity, with your questions, with new ideas, with reading, with writing. It can be so helpful, says also Jupiter, so inspiring, and can teach us so much. Then, yes, also tomorrow, the Sun meets Venus. That's both also in Gemini. That is also an energy of magnetism, attraction, and also coming from a spirit, a consciousness of love, but at the same time, lightness, right? So it's no clinging, no attachment. It's more like a playful, joyful energy that attracts across the board, especially when you're out and about. So don't just sit somewhere and wait for the world to come to you. And then, yes, the sixth, of course, with that super new moon, that's the culmination of it all. And then on June 8th, so on the weekend, Saturn kicks in more. We have, as I said, the new moon is already in a wide square with Saturn. The moon will be in square with Saturn on the 6th, on the new moon day. But then on Saturday the 8th, Venus will go into square with Saturn. And on Sunday the 9th, the Sun will go into square with Saturn. So that creates some friction, right? And some conflict potentially. As I mentioned at the very beginning, it can have to do, usually this kind of conflict, the mutable one, can be, can dissipate and can be more easily transcended from a Piscean perspective and let go of, so to say, rather than a fixed conflict, rather than square in fixed signs. So this one with Venus square Saturn on Saturday, interesting, and the Sun square Saturn on Sunday. The Venus part can show us also more reality check regarding vibrations with people whom we might want to have, attracted to in the last while and being open to and curious about and playful with, right? The Venus in Gemini energy. Saturn says, are the vibes really right? And then on the other hand, if we're very attracted to lots of information and we're just going overboard with that, with Jupiter and all the Gemini energy, Saturn wants to regulate that too and says less is more. How can you moderate your media intake and such, and can you say things in fewer words? Do you need to be exposed to all of this and overwhelmed, right? And yeah, and then the Sun squaring Saturn on a Sunday. As I said, that happens twice a year. One time, one of the squares is a waxing square, right? When the Sun grows out of Saturn, which is the case this time. Saturn here in Pisces, and the Sun in Aries, Taurus, Gemini, right? Then you would have also a waning square when the Sun is in Sag and creates also a square, right? It's just like a waxing moon, waning moon. So waxing square is like more. There's the emphasis is more like, yeah, we're reaching out so much here. We've been reaching out into this whole field of information, of also AI, if you will, right? All qualities of intelligence, like, yeah, Secret Service, all sorts of qualities of intelligence are subject to Gemini. And Saturn says, maybe you've gone kind of overboard here as well. Let's see what really resonates, and let's see what can be said without words, even, right? And Saturn and I should say Gemini and Pisces are also beautifully expressed through poetry, right? Or through, a music and sound says more than 1,000 words, but it also communicates. So it's also like the language of water. All these things, right, are Gemini, Pisces, and yeah, And it is also a conflict between spirit, consciousness, the sun, and which rules our crown chakra actually, and then matter, right? Spirit and matter, matter like really Saturn, reality, limitations through that, and yeah, and all sorts of things, rules, regulations, all of that. And Saturn also rules the root chakra. I said the sun rules the crown chakra, Saturn the root. So ideally, we bring those together in the heart, of course, right? And which would be also sun. So um, Saturn in Pisces has also to do with spiritual teachings, and in combination with the sun in Gemini, we could, you know, spiritual teachings can be conveyed in a beautiful, conscious way, in a lightness, doesn't have to be heavy or kind of, kind of so much, weight to it, right? But also in a language, in a way of communicating to people through sort of um, the language of the heart. Yes. Anyway, so um, World Ocean Day, I just see my calendar, will be on Sunday the 9th. That's great. Consciousness, bringing consciousness to the importance of our oceans. Then what we also have this week is just so much going on. I'm going over 30 minutes here today. Is Mars entering Taurus on June the 8th. And that goes till July the 20th. Mars has been in Aries now, so Mars in Aries in its own sign, and then all the Gemini energy. That has been such a whirlwind just currently. Then the energy also settles with Mars in Taurus. What is Mars? Mars is a warrior energy. Mars also the shows where our drives and desires and our wants are. Of course, it can be always hijacked by the ego. Mars can, and so with Taurus, it's about slowing down for one thing, smelling the roses, which are beautifully starting to bloom now. Wild roses already out, and enjoying life in spring and in early summer. Yes, and settling, grounding, and joy, and also a sense of security, right? So, what gives you security? And how can you pursue that more in a joyful way? Is what Mars in Taurus says. Then Mars, the highlight of Mars in Taurus will be its conjunction and passing of Uranus, which is now the only planet left in Taurus um, before Mars kicks in. So that will be on July 15th, and that will be the highlight. I'm just double checking that here. July 15th. Yeah, exactly. Mars conjunct Uranus. So that will also bring the energy towards liberation, freedom, and kicking habits, kicking attachments, right? When things become too stagnant, too habitual, not only Uranus wants to disrupt that and set us free, also Mars says, okay, I need to get Mars can also express that way. I need to get off my chair here. I need to get out of my comfort zone. I need to do something in nature, and yeah, rather than just in a certain stagnation. It can also help us with all sorts of habits, especially relating to food, which is Taurus, and to kick those. Then yeah, so I will write an article for Mars in Taurus. I'm not quite there yet, but it'll come. And as I said, lots going on this month of June. One more thing for Mars. Mars has a 2-year cycle. So the last time, if you want to review that, when Mars was in Taurus was in summer 2022. And yeah, I believe that's it now. More to come on my blog. And then, of course, again, next week when we're moving already towards summer solstice. Let me just double check. Have I forgotten anything? No, I think we're good. Okay. wish you a beautiful, super Gemini, very Gemini, super new moon week. And maybe I see you out and about. Take care. Bye.